Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. I am Siddeeq Jihad out of Detroit, Michigan. In 1973, I happened to get my hair cut at a barbershop, and I usually don't get my hair cut at barbershops, period. But on that particular occasion, I met with Yusuf Abdul Hafid is his name now. His name was Joseph, whatever number of X's back in those days. And he sold me an album by the name of The Judgment of the World, Part 2 by Elijah Muhammad. And on that particular album, Elijah Muhammad made the statement, if a man does not treat you right, how is he going to teach you right? So that opened up my thoughts to many, many things in terms of the lynching and the water hoses and all of that in the history of the civil rights movement here in America. So in 1973, I started going to the Temple of Islam, and I met various people there, and I happened to meet a brother by the name of Shaheed Bashir, who was teaching Arabic, and I had a few classes with him. And one day I happened to read the Muslim Journal, and I saw an article relating to Roland Saffer teaching Arabic at his home. And so I was on the expressway one day, and I saw him, and I asked him to get off at the Mount Elliott exit of Interstate 94 just by giving him a hand motion, and he got off, and I told him I was interested in learning, and he told me that the people that were coming to his class were not consistent, and he was contemplating not taking on any more students. And so he told me if I would promise him to come every Saturday diligently, that he would teach me. And so I did go to his class for 9 months. And prior to that, I had taken a few classes with another brother by the name of Jalal over at the Masjid John Hassan in Highland Park, which is now a defunct masjid. So when I went into taking the class, Roland apprised me of the fact that Dr. Shacker was teaching Arabic at the Wayne County Community College. And I was kind of hesitant to go there because he was saying, oh, you ready to go? So I went and I took 101. I had enough under my belt from the testing that I had in the interview that Shacker gave me, where I didn't have to take the initial class. I took the Arabic 101, and I continued to learn with Dr. Shacker. And I can say this about Dr. Shacker, something I remember him for most is this statement. If it's not al-Islam, pardon me, he said, if it doesn't make sense, it's not al-Islam. If it doesn't make sense, it's not al-Islam. And he was a very, very stern and strict teacher, and he called the people, for the most part, that came to the class, the Pepsi Cola generation. And I take that to mean that he's saying that we are people who are just into fun and play and not wanting to really focus on studying. The homework and whatnot was very, very tedious and took a lot of time to really do it right. And he insisted on high standards of pronunciation and also writing, and he tested us many, many times. And as most of us know that went to the class, many of us fell by the wayside and did not continue in the class because we didn't want to spend the time that it took to really do well in the classes. I would say this, that he was a very wise teacher in the sense that he told us in private, I can't really teach you Islam in the class directly because this is an Arabic class. But if you ask me questions, then I have the obligation to answer your questions. So I can remember a question I asked him about the verb pattern, the fourth form verb pattern. I saw in the Qur'an, in the Surah Ar-Rahman, a verse where it says, Yursalu alaykum ashwadum minna. And translated, sent on the both of them is a flame of fire. So Yursalu, I didn't understand that. I thought it should have been Yursilu. It should have been a kasra, as we call it, on the S. Yursilu as opposed to Yursalu. So I thought maybe it was a mistake in the print that I had in this particular Qur'an. And he said, no, brother, this is what we call the passive voice. The agent is unknown. The person that's doing the act or sending the flame is unknown. But we know that that particular agent that did this flame throwing or sent this flame is known, but Allah, he did not mention himself as being the sender of the flame. So you might say, well, why does Allah do this? From my studies, praise be to Allah, from him explaining different things to us, I come to know that Allah is letting you and I know that it's already timed and clocked to come. He doesn't have to just intervene and say, okay, I'm sending the flame now. I'm mad at you human beings and you jinn, so I'm sending the flame right now. No, it's already in the cooker, so to speak, for this flame to occur. So he taught us many things that would help us understand the Qur'an. He was a very, very precise and insisted on excellence. And he would tell us many times if we were explaining something, he would say, tafaddal, you know. He always was trying to encourage us, you're on the right track, continue in your excellence. And we use this tafaddal, as most of you know. If you're trying to go to a door or something and some people are with you, you open your hand and say, tafaddal, like you continue on through the door in the excellent way that you are going. I prefer that you go before me. So he gave us a lot of subtle things that helps us to appreciate this religion. And one of the things, too, that he did was he constantly criticized the text that we were using. And he would say, put right here, silly or stupid. He would tell us to write it in pencil. He didn't tell us to write it in ink. Because he was knocking the scholarship of those who wrote the books. And he constantly said, I pray Allah one day that one of my students or some of my students will write books. And as I sit here before you, I always remembered that, and Allah blessed me to write a book. And the book is called The Language of Revelation, pardon the commercial. So since I went to those classes, I only went to 3 classes as far as Arabic, 101, 102, 201, and 202. I began to study the language on my own and look at rights, grammar, and other books and whatnot. And I traveled the country since 1992, doing Arabic seminars in various venues. And I'm still doing that sparingly as I sit here today. In regard to Sheikh Ali, I remember meeting Sheikh Ali in Detroit at a masjid, I believe, on Greenfield and 6 Mile, if I'm not mistaken. And one of the things that he said that I never did forget and I really appreciated, he was telling us what Lam Yulad meant in the Qur'an, Suratul-Ikhlas. He was saying that Yulad means that the agent that birthed Allah into existence doesn't exist, and it's in the causative form. So Allah is telling you and I, by saying Lam Yulad in the 4th form passive voice, that the agent that birthed me into the world has no existence, and nothing caused me, that is Allah himself, to be existing in the world. So that was a very, very profound thing that he told me then, and I knew that he had some knowledge, and I would always try to ask him questions about grammar whenever I had the opportunity to do so. In fact, I would say that most of the questions, if not all of the questions I asked him about grammatical points in the Qur'an, he had the answer. Now I can remember not too long ago, maybe about, I should say long ago, maybe about 5 years ago, I told him, I said, the things that you tell me privately, I think you should tell it to the public at the khutbah. I said, Sheikh Ali, you're getting older now, and you should give all the knowledge that you have in your head to the masses of the people so that it can be carried on and improved, and more knowledge will come, and the people become even more knowledgeable than you. And that's the real goal of a real teacher. The teacher wants the students to eclipse the knowledge that they have and go further, inshallah. So I am very, very humbled to be in this gathering here to explain to you the beauty of what Dr. Shaker offered to our community. And I happen to have been one of the ones who carried his casket to the grave site there when he passed away, praise be to Allah. I was the only African American there, by the way, not that I'm trying to boast of that, but I was there, and Allah obviously wanted me to be there, praise be to Allah. So I can remember going back a little bit, I would hear the Qur'an being recited when I would take whiting H&G fish to one of my customers who had a husband who was a Muslim. And I would sit on the porch, listen to the melodious tones and whatnot, and it struck me immediately that I need to learn what this is saying in the language that it was revealed in. So ever since I have become a Muslim, I've been interested in wanting to understand the Qur'an for myself, and I'm known for trying to empower people to learn the Arabic Qur'an for themselves. I can remember, in fact, it might have been right in this room here, our dear friend Imam Suleiman made the comment that memorization of the Qur'an is not scholarship, it's just an ability to take the time to remember something. And so many times we have imams that have the ability to recite the Qur'an and even become leaders of masjids because they have the ability to recite the Qur'an. But understanding the Qur'an is better than reciting the Qur'an. I think that most of the people who really appreciate the content of the Qur'an in terms of the knowledge will agree with that particular statement. Praise be to Allah. So Dr. Shaker, as most of you all know, was from Egypt. So he's African just like the African Americans here in terms of ancestral lineage. Praise be to Allah. So another thing I remember him doing, and I've seen him do it many times because I would come back to his classes from time to time and invite people, and even my son, he went to the classes when he was 12 or 13 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So he would try to explain to us what we call the second form of the verb. He would say, kasara means to break something. And he would have a piece of chalk, and he would just break the chalk. Kasara, he broke the chalk, right? And then he would say, kasara! And then he would take the chalk and just smash it up against the wall, real crazily like, and people would be stunned and shocked that he did it. And he did it with not a smile or emotional thread to the action that he always did on a regular basis. So I believe that was his way of bringing the point home that the second form means to smash something, to pulverize something. And he did these kind of things to help us to appreciate the verb forms. So what Dr. Shaka did for me, more than anything else, is to show me the structure of the Arabic language. So if you understand the structure of the Arabic language, then the point is now just increasing your vocabulary and going to work and finding the subtleties that Allah is utilizing in this glorious Qur'an. Praise be to Allah. So I would say without a doubt that Dr. Shaka was a free thinker, just as Imam Muhammad was a free thinker. So many of us went to Dr. Shaka's classes because of the beckoning or the encouragement, if you will, of Imam Muhammad. But praise be to Allah, I had went into the classes out of the beckoning of Roland Safir. Praise be to Allah. So I'm very, very thankful and grateful that he would take the 9 months of time that he spent with me to give me a foundation to be able to endure the classes that Dr. Sheikh offered there at the Wayne County Community College. So I don't know what else I can say in this short period of time, but I can encourage you, as I encourage myself, to continually spend more time in understanding the Qur'an so that it will increase our taqwa, increase our obedience to what Allah has revealed. So the real Islam is not the hadith, it's not the sirah, but it's the Qur'an itself, and we should give the Qur'an priority over everything else. And I'm not negating the validity of the hadith and the sirah, that is the history, but I'm saying to you and I that we must be able to make that connection with this Qur'an that Allah has revealed. Praise be to Allah.